Ladies and gentlemen, to those viewing online, welcome to the first media conference by the People's Roundtable. Today's media conference is being held to introduce the country to the People's Roundtable, its participating organizations, and what they are about. Without any delay, allow me to introduce Mr. David Abdullah, who is the convener of the People's Roundtable.
Thank you very much, Nicole. And very good morning to members of the media, those who have joined us online, and my colleagues, members of the People's Roundtable, fellow citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Today, we, the below-named civil society organizations and social movements, announce the establishment of the People's Roundtable. Today's announcement follows a number of very thoughtful conversations that we have had about the state of Trinidad and Tobago. Our decision to establish the People's Roundtable was made because of our shared concern about the divisions in our society that are fueled by persons shouting at each other instead of listening and understanding what people are feeling and experiencing. There is little tolerance, far less mutual respect being demonstrated, and as a result, there is no serious dialogue on the many problems that people are experiencing in their daily lives. In the absence of serious dialogue, there hasn't been and won't be any solutions that are widely agreed upon, far less implemented, to the multiple crises facing the country. As responsible civil society, we cannot stand by and see this continue. Given the diverse organizations that are participating in the People's Roundtable, we strongly believe that it is not only possible, but absolutely necessary that there be a space and a process that enables citizens from many backgrounds and experiences to listen, share, and arrive at consensus on the problems facing the country, and more importantly, point to a way forward and organize for this to happen. The participating organizations in the People's Roundtable share a commitment to, quote, the public interest, the common good, and a better life for all, close quote. In this regard, we recognize that the public interest speaks to the fact that the vast majority of our people, contrary to our nation's constitution, are excluded from being able to, and I'm quoting now from the Constitution, play some part in the institutions of national life, end of quote. And therefore, their interests are not only not taken into consideration, but actively disregarded. This is reflected, for example, by public consultations being held recently on the issue of an increase in electricity rates, only for the expressed objections to a rate increase by the ordinary men and women of the public being ignored. In our advocating for the public interest, therefore, we be focused on the interest of the ordinary men and women in our society, the voiceless, and those who, in the eyes of the powerful, do not count. We recognize that the common good speaks to the fact that our nation's constitution, which states that, and I quote, the operation of the economic system should result in the material resources of the community being so distributed as to subserve the common good, that there should be adequate means of livelihood for all, that labor should not be exploited or forced by economic necessity to operate in inhumane conditions, but that there should be opportunity for advancement on the basis of recognition of merit, ability, and integrity, end of quote, is being trampled upon every day. In other words, our Constitution is being trampled upon every day. We speak to a better life for all because today the lives of too many of our people are not good. People are struggling as they don't enjoy the basics needed to sustain life. The lack of a proper water supply, a health system where people have to wait for hours to be attended to, an education system that reinforces inequality of opportunity, incomes that cannot provide adequate nutrition, a social services system that seems to penalize those in need, the stress of traffic jams, and a public transport system that is inadequate, and the struggles of the differently able just to move around and to get employment are just some of the realities of life for many of our citizens. At the same time, crime is robbing so many of our people, and especially our youth, of their lives, of citizens of their peace of mind and body, and business people, farmers, and the self-employed of success. We believe that, quote, power grown from the grassroots, end of quote, can indeed bring about real change, not change expressed in fancy slogans or in expensive PR campaigns, but change in the lives of people. We recognize as well that there is a need for changes in our system of governance, which means that we have to address constitutional reform, Tobago autonomy, deeper local government reform, political party and campaign finance laws, among other issues. However, we understand that information and knowledge is power. To grow power from the grassroots, therefore, the People's Roundtable will be engaging citizens in their communities, communities where people live, communities around which people have organized based on shared interests, and the online social media communities. This engagement will be to exchange ideas and views, to provide information, and to enable all of us to know where we have come from, so that we can know where we are going. This is something that the late Professor Brinsley Samaru had wanted to do with us, and we will honor his legacy with our work. The People's Roundtable is a coming together of civil society organizations and social movements. It is not a political party. The convener is myself, David Abdullah, and I have had a very long experience in engaging in conversations with very many diverse organizations to working on building cross-sectoral processes, from community media for development in the 1980s, which some of you may not know, but the multiplicity of television stations and radio stations is a direct result of that work that I did with people like Chris Lear and Tony Hall and others. To the Assembly of Caribbean People in the 1990s, to getting trade unions and NGOs together in the Federation of Trade Unions and NGOs. The People's Roundtable is open to all NGOs, community-based organizations, and other civil society organizations who share our commitment to the public interest, the common good, and a better life for all. And you could contact us, and we share our information via email at peoplesroundtable.tt@gmail.com. And we also have a Facebook page, which I think we are streaming on this morning, the People's Roundtable, and an Instagram account, the People's Roundtable. So, I'm the convener, so I've read this statement on behalf of, and there are a number of organizations, some of whom were unable to be physically with us, and others that are physically with us, and I've identified the names of the organizations. Those that are physically with us, I will introduce their representatives. The Disabled Peoples International Trinidad and Tobago chapter is unable to be with us physically. The Farmers Union of Trinidad and Tobago also not with us physically. The Guave Road Farmers Association is here, Brother Joseph Richardson. The Network of NGOs for the Advancement of Women is here, represented by Sister Carol Noel to my left. Susu Dance Cooperative unfortunately cannot attend. The All Mansions of Rastafari is here with us, represented by Sister Yvette Williams. The Artists Coalition of Trinidad and Tobago is with us, represented by Rubadiri Victor. The Joint Trade Union Movement is with us, represented by Brother Trevor Johnson, the Assistant General Secretary, and Sister Donna Henry, who is an executive member of the Communication Workers Union, one of the member unions of the JQM. The Single Fathers Association of Trinidad and Tobago is not with us. The Students Guild of Cipriani College on Labour and Corporate Studies is also not with us. Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association is very much with us, represented by its president, Brother Alan Ferguson. And then we also have Tobago Civil Net. They, of course, are in Tobago and could not be with us this morning. And the Trinidad Youth Council is also a participating member. There have been a number of other organizations that have participated in some of our meetings and have expressed interest and so on. And as time proceeds after today, we expect that many more organizations with whom we've been in direct communication and some that we haven't had direct communication will become participating members in the People's Roundtable. And that is the end of the formal statement. And of course, we are open to members of the media for questions that you may have.
So the organization group made up of civil society organizations and social movements. In the past, a lot of recommendations and suggestions have been made by these very city movements. How do you all intend to get the leaders, the authorities, to listen to your recommendations and suggestions and implement them?
Excellent question. So, two things. One is that we are ready, because we began deliberations several months ago, towards the end of May. We had several meetings and then we took a break and we resumed in September. And we actually came up with a list of issues, national issues, which we are still going through, which we will then prioritize and go out in communities, geographical and social media and interest group communities, to discuss these issues. I've identified some of them in the statement, things like governance, the economy, people's lives, how they're affected and so on, health, education, things like that. And through that process of mobilization, because one of the problems that we have in the country is that NGOs, civil society, social movements tend to operate in their own space. So the trade unions are doing something, scrap iron dealers are fighting their battle, the women are taking up issues, the youth, the artists, all mansions of Rastafari were engaged in the whole campaign for decriminalization and so on, the farmers battling for their survival. So in that situation, those who have to make decisions don't necessarily act because they think they're only being confronted by one section of the national community. What the People's Roundtable is seeking to do is bring together a very diverse section and a broad cross-section of Trinidad and Tobago. And by having the kind of conversations that we are having, we are going to be able to avoid the kind of polarization so that they can't say that this is that ethnic group or this ethnic group. This is now we're working to Trinidad and Tobago to reflect the interests of the ordinary person, the public interest of Trinidad and Tobago. And we think if we can do that, that will have a real impact on decision making going forward.
Just say one thing as regards.
But let me just ask Ivan for his question, and then we could do is get comments from other colleagues afterwards, because we have to come here so that it's captured by the cameras and the microphones. Yeah, Ivan?
So is this, I mean, you say it's not political, but is this going to be a political party eventually? Because, I mean, we are
and the answer to that question is no, this is not a political party. This is the People's Roundtable comprised of civic society organizations, social movements. It is not a political party. Yes? We're very clear on that.
Any particular community you all will decide to target first?
No, we haven't identified that yet, Nikita. Our next meeting will identify our program of work. We were really working, first of all, on trying to capture the issues, because in our earlier discussions, people identified the issues that they want the roundtable to take up. So that we will focus on that, and then preparations for today to make the announcement and to invite other organizations to participate. And so we focus on that, and then we will then work on how we get out to the communities, which ones we go to first, second, and third, and the methodology of that. Because in one of our meetings, if I could say, that meeting was a very important meeting that we had, and the person who was speaking to that issue was Brother Shabaka Thompson, who was one of the representatives, actually the brother of Yvette, who was also representing the online church, and he sadly passed away not too long after our meeting. And Shabaka was making the point that we have to use all the mechanisms of communication to reach the different audiences. Young people who don't necessarily come out to a town meeting, how we reach them. The older folks who like to read people like me and attend the meeting. So we are going to work through those details to try to reach as many people as possible.
By the amount of executive members you have, how many members does the body make up? How many members? We need all the executives.
Right, so there's no executive. This is not a formalistic organization where we have an executive. We simply have a convener, in the person of myself, and then member organizations send representatives to the meetings.
So
and we have at the moment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have at the moment 13 confirmed participating member organizations. There have been some others that have taken part in meetings, and they may add their names subsequently.
So put together, how many members are there? If we have an estimate, so
Well,
the bodies that.
okay, so some organizations, Christian, are single organizations, like, for example, the Students Guild of Cipriani College is a single organization. But the network of NGOs for the Advancement of Women has several member organizations. The Joint Trade Union Movement has several, I think 16 or 17 member trade unions. The Artists Coalition of Trinidad and Tobago has several members. Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association has many dealers and also other members, and so on. So there is no, the 13 organizations here also represent other organizations. So in that sense, there are many more than 30 that are participating, but some are participating through their umbrella organization or federation, and others are participating as direct organizations.
Is this a registered organization?
No, we are not, because we're not a registered NGO. We are simply bringing a collective of bringing people together at this point in time. Yes? So we are not a registered NGO. We are not out there with a constitution and collecting money, and we are not a non-profit. Individual member organizations may be registered as the case may be, but we are not. Yeah.
There's so much talk, no action, people are frustrated for different reasons. What can you tell those people about this organization? What difference will this make to them, to their lives?
And would you all be hitting the streets?
That's a key question. And the answer is yes, we are not going to be just another talk show. In fact, that has been talked about in our meetings, that we cannot be another talk show. Yes? And yes, we will take actions, but I'm not now going to say what those actions will be, because we operate on the basis of consensus of our participating members. And so, as we address the national issues, we will identify what actions we will take, concrete actions. That will have to involve, because action now has to involve not just the leaders of member organizations or the RoundTable or others. People may be calling for action, but people themselves have to be prepared to take action. So it is in our conversation, and this can't be a top-down thing where we just say, do this, do that. We have to engage and involve people in the process so that when action is taken, people own the action, and that action then becomes powerful and effective. But it's not a talk show.
And would you all be taking your clients to the street, or would you all be having in-house meetings like
All of that will be announced in due course, Simon. All of that will be announced in due course as we meet and discuss our program of work. But it certainly is not going to be a talk show. amongst a few talking heads here. Yes, we have to have conversations with other people in the country. Yes, because there's a lot of divisiveness in the society, and therefore we have to build consensus around what the root causes of our problems are. Yes, so we don't engage in simple bashing of people. That one bad, this one good, that one bad, this one good. We have to move beyond that to unite our people for common purpose, in the common interest, and that is what we are about, which will involve action, yes, but that will emerge in the course of our work. Yeah? All right, so other members of they wish to comment. I don't know, Trevor, did we have, okay, so they go Civil that and DPI didn't join us. Okay, all right. So, Rudy, you wanted to?
One of the executed, yeah.
Yeah. If any other member wishes to say something, you can.
Yeah. Hi, Rudy Victor, Artist Coalition in Trinidad and Tobago. In response to your question, because it's something that a lot of people bring up. One is it's important to understand that civil society has assembled like this before. This is not the first time. Remember some of the other times where it's happened, and every single time civil society has assembled like this, it has moved the nation along in terms of humanizing the nation and making a lot of progressive things happen. So one of the important things is that we need to register our victories and understand when we won things. So the procurement legislation that exists, all the things like heritage legislation that exists, all these different kinds of things, local government reform, even though governments might pretend that they are the author of those things and they are the ones who, it was people that forced their hand into doing those things. And it was not just member organizations and they go with the JCC and their own and those kinds of things. It was the JCC added to by literally dozens of other civil society organizations and moved that made those things happen. And I mean, the country has a history of that, stretching back to Butler and all of those things and the reforms of that time in the 30s and those things. That happened when people moved collectively. And this is all that this is. Civil society, meaning the people, need to organize and be conversing amongst ourselves to be able to move things forward. And because it's difficult at times to be NGOs and to be organized, the resources are short on the ground in terms of just keeping all these groups together and those kinds of things. But those groups represent aspirations and dreams of people. And when those people start to organize, we start to distill what the dreams and aspirations of people are a little better. And they're able to push things forward. So it's important for us to understand that even though it appears that it's talk shop and those kinds of things, but when people have assembled, action has happened. And it has had major impact on the life lived by people, whether it be wages raised, and all kinds of different kinds of things that have to humanize the community. So I just want to, it's important for us to remember and have that context, and this is that happening once again. You know, I just want to say also, in the spirit of people like Sheila Solomon's anniversary of her passing was recently, people like Dennis Panton, all those who participated in those kinds of things in the past, it's really important to honor that, and this is in a lineage of those kinds of mobilizations. So that's it.
One question. You talked about mobilization. In the past, different entities, different groups have found it very difficult to mobilize the members when asked for help. How is this going to be any different, and how are you going to get your members to come out when you do ask them to come out if you all do decide to take any sort of action in the future?
Yes, societies are organisms, roots in and out. It has different moments of trauma, different moments of when things are easy and when things are not hard. There are times when it's difficult to mobilize, and no matter what you do, it's hard to get 2 or 3 people out. And then there are other times and stuff, you just have to exhale, and there's a crowd of 1,000, and you're able to shift things in the society. The thing is that the society requires people participation. It should not be something that depends upon the organization and the ability of people on the ground. The only reason that this is necessary is because there are no institutions as a former Crown colony, and because of the Westminster system. We don't have the institutions of participation 24/7. There's not the big Marco Senate, that's big Marco Senate, where all the groups are always in participation in governance. So because of that, it depends upon mobilization on the ground, which at times is difficult. But the thing is, it is essential. And that's all we're doing. We're doing an essential part of what's supposed to constitute a normal nation, which is the conversation amongst civil society and people. And because those institutions don't exist, we have to continually try to erect it until such a time that it's built in to the fabric of the society. And so we're doing what must be done.
Okay, thanks for you. Carol Noel wanted to represent the network of NGOs for the advancement of women.
Let us put my on the arm.
It's Carol Noel, network of NGOs.
What was that? Name.
Carol Noel, network of non-governmental organizations of Trinidad and Tobago for the advancement of women. I just want to shed some light in regards to 2 questions that was posed. An entire team and activity that I was part of yesterday morning at the field station, the agricultural field station in Mission Princestown. And they had an outreach program to encourage persons to get into more agriculture. We dealt with tree crops, green pigeon peas, cassava, and sweet potato. Only to hear the agricultural officer, when asked about, to inform us that there is no more Premier gasoline section station there. They had removed all of the staff and they are now located in St. Joseph, the farm street. Now, we all know what those officers have to do. If something is happening up in Mayaro, there's a serious problem, because one of the drawbacks that the division have, in fact the road ministry, is that of transportation. So that our members are affected, the community is affected. And it is always said, if a woman is affected, the family is affected, and all of us is affected. So our network have smaller bodies in it. One of it is the network of rural women producers. And we have women farmers. Some of them is 4th and 5th generations. So when they are affected, our food basket is affected. And just 2 days ago, we were looking at that whole issue of debt and how it affects us when we deal with internal borrowing and external borrowing. So that sometimes we tend to say, this doesn't concern me, but it concerns all of us. Not just us alone, our children, grandchildren, and maybe down to the 4th and 5th generations also. So that we are using this opportunity of the RoundTable to let our voices be heard, and let our members' voices be heard, and let the persons and individuals in society that are affected, them to get a voice to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Does anybody else want to?
Good morning to each and everyone. Good morning to the media. Good morning to the people who are viewing us on all different pages. I want to make it very clear. The Trinidad and Tobago's Papaya Association with all our members. You see, we need to understand something in life. And some of us wouldn't understand it because some of us don't have the feelings for poor people and people in society who feel in depression. So I understand that. But we don't have time to say we live in this for this union, we live in this for the women organization, for the single fathers association to handle again. That time is gone. I think we need every single organization to come on board. This country is in a terrible state in reference to crime and people suffering and people cannot see where the next dollar is coming from. And for we to say, listen to me, let one organization handle their problem and we handle our problem. I want to show you something. From small I could understand it. One finger can do nothing. Two fingers can do nothing. When you grab all your fingers together, it's stronger. And it can hit a powerful punch. Because you can't tell me about punch, because I was a former national champion in boxing. When you pull your hand together and you hit the punch, it's a stronger way of telling people, listen to me, the thing that you're doing, you have to stop it, because we organize now. We will be more organized in such a way that Trinidad and the world will see that this group that organized in here with all these members, and I am telling the other organization, come together. We can't do it by ourselves. This is not the time to say that I am on this side and I am on this side. This is not a political party. This is not a political party. I will not take part in this if this was a political party. I am saying to me, based on my understanding about life, this will be an organization that I know that some people feel that this is a talk. No! We're going to call action. We're going to cause people to get what they need to get in such a way that people will understand and everybody will come together to make Trinidad and Tobago better. Because we need to come together. We have to forget not coming together. We now have to come together and we have to show Trinidad and Tobago this is the time. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever organization they come together, it was not the time for people to come and show a stronger way to make people understand that they need for people to get what they need to go. Because this country is not a poor country. This country is a country that's rich and have a lot of resources that people could be able to get what they want. Right? And it must not go to one set of people. It must go to the whole of Trinidad and Tobago. I am not saying that the people on top, if they do good things and they do good business, that they will be successful. But I am saying that every single person in this country is supposed to be able to live good and have a good family and send their family to school, and we can be able to send them to anywhere they want in reference to UV or wherever. It mustn't be one set of people going to the big set of college and the other people have to go into the school and then everybody want to fight and kill one another. No, we want to do so. We want to be able to share our knowledge with one another and make sure that we do it in a collective way. That is why I joined this organization, and that is why I put my organization also, and I will always be to try to be in front with David and in front with the organization to make sure that we get it correct and do the right things and do it in a way that everybody will be pleased of us. One more thing I want to say before I go. If you all think that women getting raped, children getting killed, people invading, coming and raping people's families, and we don't think it's necessary for all organizations to join together to say, let me stop this and change. Because the only way we could change the community and the country is when we come together, when the community comes together and say, police is from the community, the lawyers, the nurse, the fireman, the pole, everybody is from one community, developing one community, and we say we have to get everybody together to make change in this country. And that's the only way we can do that. And thank you. And I really want to say thanks go out to David, because without him, I think God using him to put these organizations together. And people must understand is that not everything is a political man do is political. Some people is good, their heart is good. And to put all these organizations together, your heart has to be good. Because everything now in Trinidad is UNC, PNM, government, to politics. And I understand that politics is a way of life, but we can be able to make a change and show them that this has nothing to do with politics.
Thank you very much, Adam. All right. Thanks, so brother.
Morning to everyone. I am Joseph Richardson, President and Team Leader of the Global Farmers in Shagaramas. Now, what I'm touching on is something that my comrade Victor and even Mr. Ferguson here too, our comrade Ferguson speak about. A question was put whether we're going to be a political party in the future. No, we're not. The issue also about if you're going to be a talk shop. No, we are not. We would never be a talk shop. I would never be part of a talk shop. You all remember 2015 Shagaramas? Anybody? Well, you are the media. You're not supposed to respond. You're supposed to listen or put your questions. But 2015, it wasn't the people from any particular group that joined with us in the Great March of the 9th of May 2015. It was people from all over this country. I was surprised the kind of support that we got, right? Brother David, or Comrade David, he was there, and so many organizations just showed up to support Shagaramas farmers in their fight for our lands. Don't mind up to today, we didn't have our lands yet, but that's another issue, and that will be discussed sometime with the media down the road. But what I'm saying, I'm talking about this organization that I'm part of, which my team, I informed them about it, and everybody said, well, yeah, we need help, and we need also to get out there. There are other organizations just like us in communities all over this country that are struggling, can't get their word out, can't get their fingers out, can't get their issues out. The RoundTable is an opportunity for you to come out here and get that, what you've been stifling with for all this time. I'm talking about from Toko, Matlot, we are heading down to Grand River, Mayaro, Cedrus, Captiville Bamboo. We're coming up the road to Point Fortin, and the all surrounding areas coming up well, they are not here today, the farmers of more or less Central, right back to Shagaramas. We have issues. That's right, we have issues. But the issues, if put in, if you're dealing with it by yourself, most likely you will get out there. Media, you know it too. You all can't be everywhere. Thanks to social media, some people have to put their stuff out on the phones and try to get through Facebook and all that to get their issues out. I remember I had to do that back in 2014, 2015. I had to do it also in 2006. I also had to do it in 1999. And I could go back and back and back. Listen, we have been trying, and all I have noticed is all the years that we have been struggling, we are only getting better. So now we have the RoundTable, an opportunity for all who are seeing this, all who are seeing this video, all who are out there, who have issues. Contact us through that, through the media. We have our Facebook page, we have our email address. And get to us. Let's hear your issues. Let's see if you can be part of this. Because most of the time you are. Most of the time you are. You just didn't get that opportunity to make contact with a group that is ready. It become like, okay, it's like a bus. Get on the bus. I like that line. Just get on the bus. Thank you.
Where is funding coming from for this organization? How are you going to be funding?
How are we funding it? Well, individual member organizations are chipping up a little bit here, a little bit there, and so on. But we are operating on a very low budget. Today is the most expensive activity that we are having. But we are operating on a very low budget, and it's really voluntary contribution from member organizations that supporting us up to this point.
Would you have a one common headquarters or something where someone talked about
yeah, no, we not
social media?
No, we're not having a headquarters. All of those things are overheads and bureaucracy, Yvonne. No, so we're operating very much just as when we meet either virtually or physically, or we have hybrid meetings and so on to facilitate those who can't come to our physical meetings, and we have very important discussions there, and we make decisions, we identify the actions, and we move forward. Yes? So we don't have there's no need for headquarters and all of that. This has to, I think somebody made a point about organic. This has to be a very organic process. And I think somebody was wondering why now. The question is why not now? People in the country are suffering, and we referred it from colleagues here. People are suffering, people are experiencing complex difficulties, and we refer to some of them in one of the paragraphs of our statement. And so there's a need. People feel a sense perhaps of powerlessness, of hopelessness, because, and as Brother Ferguson said, this People's Roundtable brings so many together, and together, therefore, we have the strength and the capacity to begin to deal with the problems and issues that people are facing.
Is this a kind of resistance, a kind of
Revolution.
a resistance group, to agitate for action? I'm sorry, but I wasn't here
for the full statement
from the start, so
yeah.
I don't know what is the genesis or the foundation, what it's all about, or what your agenda is, right? So I'll have to play catch up.
Yes.
But it seems to be, I too was of the opinion that this is how it starts, as a forming a political body.
No, it's not a political party at all.
Well, that's what you are.
The statement made it very clear. This is a coming together of civil society organizations, social movements, NGOs, diverse, who share a common concern about the state of Trinidad and Tobago, and recognize that something has to be done, and you've heard other colleagues express that something has to be done about it. And our first step in doing something about it is in fact coming together. That's an important first step. And then we will tackle the issues, and we'll be making the announcements about our actions to how we tackle the issues going forward. Okay.
Do you have anything immediately on the agenda, your first form of action?
No, we will announce that in due course. We have identified a lot of issues that are affecting people, and we will be looking at those issues and then organizing around those issues in terms of information and education, because a first step about power is information and knowledge. To use the Bob Marley famous quote, that we have to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. So part of the process will be information and education, raising consciousness, and organizing people for collective action. But all of that will come in due course. We're trying to get us to point before.
David, I mean, like what Sasha was saying, we've heard it all before. I mean, Mr. Ferguson has started crime talks.
Yes.
I don't know if it has yielded any fruits. You have been every Sunday, every week, with your with MSJ and your agenda. And I don't know that you have been able to make a breakthrough. I don't know if you all have been able to make a difference.
Well,
so I want to know collectively.
Well, okay, so I think we already spoke to that issue, right? That you have to look at this thing in terms of time and process. Okay? Who first made the statement about the need to increase the minimum wage? It was the trade unions. No, they said $30. It didn't end up being $30. But without the trade unions making that demand on Labor Day for an increase in minimum wage, nothing probably would have been said in the budget about minimum wage. Now, those who work for minimum wages are not members of the unions, because union members work for more than a minimum wage. So the unions were representing the voiceless minimum wage worker by demanding a higher wage. And something happened. So things happen. Time doesn't permit me. I don't want to take up the whole media conference with giving examples, but I was making the point before you came in, Yvonne, that a number of us in the 80s, myself, Chris Laird, the late Tony Hall, and others got together. We pulled together a big grouping called Community Media for Development. There was no office, no headquarters, there was whatever. We used to meet on campus. And as a result of that, the media was liberalized. And we had multiple radio and TV stations. Before CMD, there was only 610 radio with FM 100 and Trinidad Broadcasting with 7:30 a.m. and 97.1. Only 2 radio stations, each one of them having 2 frequencies. There was 1 television station, TTT. CMD helped to change all of that. People don't know that at times, they don't know about the fact that. So, what we are doing has had in the past and will have going forward real impacts in terms of making change to people's lives and to the state of our country. You mentioned procurement legislation. The JCC started it. I was president of Python. Python joined the JCC and the chambers. So I had trade unions joining with the construction sector and AmCham and the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber. And that pushed procurement legislation forward. Yes? The energy, yes. Transparency, one last one. The fact that there is something called the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, EITI, was a result of the Oilfields Workers Trade Union pushing for that and making that an issue, and it eventually became a reality. So change does happen, okay?
Just to interject this. Let us have a trial before you put me in jail. You don't want to put us in jail before the trial takes place. And I am saying, because of the organization putting everything together, give us this chance to prove ourselves. I mean to say, the society how it is now, a lot of people don't believe nothing could happen. But I am saying, we who is civil society, people think that things could make change. We could make change and give us the chance to make that and then judge us. But as it is here now, all we do is to come together and have conversation on how we will go about trying to make change. And as it is now, being decided how, if maybe nobody not down the road to eat, or if people lost their life in South Plenty, we decided how we will work on that here. Because we have to come collectively to have a decision on that. And as it is now, give us the chance to prove our organization and see what we're doing. Because there's a lot of work in it. You don't expect the state of the country here how it is now to change in 2 days or 3 days. We have to do a lot of work to put this country back. I mean, in a civil kind of way. Because as it is, moral value going on the drain.
That's right. Okay, so I think we can bring an end there. And I see, you're already skeptical, but the point is that I think all people here know that those of us here are people who are people of action, and we have been engaged in doing very serious and important work over the years. And by combining together, we are going to make a difference in Trinidad and Tobago. And we invite others to join with us in this process, which we are calling the People's RoundTable. So thank you very much, members of the media, for coming this morning. And thank you to those who were viewing the live stream. I think we called on the People's RoundTable Facebook page, right? And then we shared to the People's RoundTable. Yes. And thank you to colleagues here for joining us this morning in this first media conference. And we could look out very soon for the next statement. Yeah. No, let me just ask, before we could travel, did you want to say anything about the director? Thank you very much.